Hello friends, welcome to my shop again where I share great ideas. All my bad ideas I don't post, so they're all good ideas hopefully, and I hope you enjoy them. Anyway, it's Valentine's Day and I want to start working on what they call a bandsaw box, but this bandsaw box the process is going to be entirely different from what you've the standard type of bandsaw box. This is a bandsaw box, kind of the more traditional style, where there's a process to cut it out and the drawers come out. This one I made for my wife a number of years ago, and so anyway, I'm going to get started on this. This is a piece of I guess driftwood, and I want to make a series of, I want to keep the fronts as you see it here, and I want to put a number of drawers all down the side, and hopefully this piece here I'm going to leave it on to hang necklaces on. I thought this up for some time, and I actually wrote down the steps that I'm going to follow here, just in my design process here, so the rest of this will be just figured out as I go, and if it works well, I guess you'll see it. If it don't, I guess I won't post it. So anyway, stay tuned, and we'll give you some great ideas. What I've done here, because I want to cut this front surface right off, is I've made this jig out of some scrap wood, just a little bottom plate, and then put 2 screws in here so it can't turn. 1 screw is fine on the other end there. So then on the bandsaw I put a wider blade on with fairly small teeth, so hopefully I get a nice cut there. And you could use fence on it to get a straight cut, but the process I'm doing here, I might just do it freehand because of the cracks in there, and I might have to vary it a little bit, but in the end it is not important. So I'll give it a try here. I want to do it slowly, so I'm not going to record this, and you'll see if it's successful. Well, so far so good. I've sliced the back and the front off. It went quite smoothly. This is the front here, the outside. And the back, because of the shape, it ended up to be narrower, but I've got lots of room here to put in my boxes there. Anyway, the next step is going to be to cut one side off. So I'll go ahead and do that and then show you what it looks like. I've taken the side off, so this looks like this now. This will be the back, and it's cut off. This is the front, and it's cut off. I wanted to end it here where this was, but then I got to looking at it, discovered I have to have a complete surface here that's flat. So now I've got a side that's going to be glued on later, and a back, and it's going to be glued on later. And I've got a front, which is going to be cut into sections for drawers. So maybe you have an idea now what I'm going to do. But do the next stage. Anyway, if you remember, the last step that I did last day is I cut the side off. So then I had this piece here like this. So what I've done with this is I've marked out where the drawers go. I'm going to put little drawers there. I'm going to make those cutouts there. So instead of using the bandsaw, I'm going to use a scroll saw, because it can cut real sharp corners, and it'll leave a nice smooth surface, which you can't get with a bandsaw when you build bandsaw boxes. So anyway, I'll go ahead now and cut those out, and then show you what it looks like. Okay, I thought I'd stop and show you what I've done so far before I get too far ahead here. Last time I had cut all the drawer pieces out, And since then I've taken and cut the inside of the drawer, front to back. Of course I cut the back off first. And what I've done on this is I've sanded the inside out here so to make that nice and smooth on the disc sander, and worked a little bit on the outsides too. And the next thing to do is put the back on. I've the jigsaw scroll saw didn't cut it perfectly smooth because of the grain, so I thought, well, why not just take and sand the backs off perfectly flat, and the back off here perfectly flat, so that when you have your drawer on the inside there, it's all smooth all the way around. And I plan to put flocking on, but still would like it smooth. So I glued a bunch of the backs on here, as you can see here. I used a clamp, and I'll just glue one together here. The only trouble is I don't have my clamp. There we go. Anyway, so to make this easy, I'm just using crazy glue, a little bit of crazy glue. That way you don't have a big, you don't have glue squeezing out that you have to, and then the back, it's just a matter of figuring out which way the back goes. You got a little bit of time there, and then a little piece of wood at the back there across the opening, and you just squeeze it a little bit here and squeeze it a little bit there to get it to fit, and then using these clamps here, and just clamp that on, and that's how you put a drawer together. Then after that, I'll take and back onto the sander and touch up the edges and that, and get it all smooth, and get them all so they fit here. Important. What's very important when you do something like this is to keep track of which way the drawer fits in, and when you cut out this part, make sure you cut it the right way. If you're not careful, and being that these are fairly square, you can make a drawer with a top but no bottom. That's not a good thing. And I actually did that because I wasn't thinking of it, and but being that I have quite square, I could turn it over and get it to fit. So anyway, I'll continue on here and show you the next stage of interest. Okay, I think it's time maybe to have a little update on this bandsaw box project. I've got the side glued on here. This was the side that I cut off originally, so I could come in and cut these square drawers out. Got it used 5-minute epoxy. It's got a little bit of gap filling qualities, and you don't have to have it clamped quite as tight, but I got it pretty good. Little spot here where it wouldn't be noticed, I put a nail in, so as I clamped it, it wouldn't move around, and came out fairly good. Didn't take too long to set up, and then I've taken and sanded the front off here. This will be where the drawers will pull out of, so that's sanded out. And then I put the back on. No, I put the front on, that's what it was. And then traced in position there, and traced through here where the little drawers are going to go. So I had a mark on there, and you can see them all traced on there. Then I put lines where I'm going to cut it off. This top part I have to cut off, and it'll be glued onto this top section here. And I've got actually another piece I discovered I had to cut off too, and I have to glue it on too. So that's the progress here, and the back really doesn't have to be sanded a whole lot because you're not going to be able to see it, because it'll be clamped right on there. Just cleaned up enough so you get a nice fit there. So anyway, it's come along. It's kind of fun. Enjoyed designing and working on this project here. So we'll get all the drawer fronts cut, and then we'll start fitting the drawers. Well, I'm gone as far as I'm going to today. So I thought I'd just give a little update of what I've done so far. I've got all the drawers cut and they loosely fit in there. So they'll slide out nice and quite nice. I ended up sanding all the surfaces so they'd be all nice and smooth. Even sanded this one because the drawer fronts will go on there, and I've sanded these off. And the fronts of the drawers, each drawer will have its own front. And time you do a saw cut and sand it a little bit, you'll end up with a little crack there. But at least it'll show the drawers, and then I'll have a little pull in here. I'm thinking of using pearls or something like that. So I've got all those done, so it'll be ready to glue all the fronts in. I got the back here, but I haven't done anything with the back because I want to get all the drawers on. So I'll put this in position and clamp it where I want it. Put glue on the surface of here, and then slide it in. And just push it up against the top and wait till the glue dries there. So that's kind of how that's going to work out. At least I hope it's going to work out that way. And once that's all put together, then the back can go on. Take all the drawers out and clamp the back on nice and tight and glue it there. So anyway, it's come along pretty good. I've got this piece put back on. I had to cut that off because I needed a flat surface to cut all these holes out. But that's put on, and it looks okay. Of course, if you look close, you can see where the glue joint was, but it's acceptable there. So anyway, we'll get on to this in another few days. Okay, I've got 3 drawers glued together, so what I'm doing must be working okay. So I'll show you what I did to get them glued together. My first thought was going to use 2 clamps on each side, but soon discovered that didn't work. So on the first one, I just kind of held it in place, and I got it to work okay. But there got to be another method. So then I thought, well, why not use some rubber bands? So that's what I did. So you make sure you have your proper drawer and your proper front that's going to line up when you do the next one. So I'll just take these out for now. And then you've got the little mark that we put on before, so you can see where to line that up. So now I'll just stick that together there. Try to get that to where you can see it there. Anyway, well, I guess it's better that I see it. So then just have your rubber bands in position. And you got your line on there. The line is right on there, so line that up so that's perfect. And then what I do to make sure, because you're going to put the drawer in from the back side, is take a pencil and make another line right inside there. And then you're all set to mix the epoxy. I'm going to use epoxy here. And then you just slide the back in. Once you put a little bead all the way around here. I didn't put just put a little bit right in the center, because when it goes in it'll squeeze out to the other side, and then you drop it in and hold it to the bottom there. So I'll get started on that now. Mixed up my epoxy here, and here's an idea that you might want to think about for mixing epoxy and different glues like that. Use food can lids. Just cut the tops off, have a bunch of them in a jar or something, and you whip one out, use it for glue, and then throw it away after. So what I'm going to do, as I mentioned, I'm going to use this fancy nail here, because it's got a nice point, and then I just put a little bead right in the center. As it's going to squeeze out, and we don't want it to have glue the whole drawer to the thing there. So just a small amount down the center. It's quite thick, this stuff, so you can put a nice little hump bead right in the center. Okay, if you get a little bit on the outside, wipe it off. And that's about all what it will look like. And then make sure you get your drawer in the right way. It usually only fit one way, so. Pushing it down so it stays down towards the bottom. And I might lift that up a little bit. And then just give it a light pressure. And before I shove that in, I should have checked to see that my pencil line was in there. But while it's still have some movement, check your side movement this way. Check it there. That's right on the line where you want it. And that's all there is to it. Seems to be quite good, so I'm just going to set it down here and go watch some Olympics for a few minutes, see what's going on there. But you want to push that out shortly after the 5 minutes, because it can get a little bit onto the body of the box, and if it's still a little bit hasn't set up perfectly, it'll push out quite easily.